All right. So once we have Sophie join on, I'm going to make her the host so she can actually come in and facilitate from there. If you guys have any questions, we'll be monitoring the chat throughout, so we can also provide the questions for her, as well as get them to her afterwards via email if need be. If anyone has any questions, in general to start with, please let me know so we can go ahead and keep those recorded for her as well already.
I think the only thing to add, and this was helpful for me in doing this, if you guys have access already to LifeQI, if you can log in and kind of navigate as she's working through, that might help with the muscle memory. I know the first time I saw this program, I did not have a login. And then when I went to go back to do it, it was a little confusing. So if you're able to log in to LifeQI and navigate it along with her, I think that will make today a little bit more beneficial.
Okay, we got a few more people coming in. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys for joining on. Okay, now I can see everyone. We are recording, just for everyone who is just joining on, we are recording the session because in about 2 minutes, we're going to have Sophie from LifeQI joining us. Just as Shannon mentioned, if you're able to log into the LifeQI system, so kind of during the call, you're able to navigate that as well. As she's talking, we'll be monitoring the chat for any questions or anything you have also. And here she is. Hello. Oh, she's joining. Hi, Sophie.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Very well, thank you very much. It's lovely to see you all.
Yes, lovely to see you as well. We have, of course, everyone on the call. We've kind of let them know, who you are already. And then also, if you would want to add any other information in as well, you're more than welcome to do so.
No, you've probably given me a good enough introduction, but thank you.
Of course. We've let everybody know to just kind of get logged in. Shannon definitely suggested that they try to navigate it as you're talking, to make it a lot easier as well. Yeah, we can go ahead and get started. I'll make you the host. Let's see. All right. And did that work? Oh,
yeah, it did.
Oh, perfect. And this is also being recorded, Sophie, so we can send it out to everyone who wasn't able to join today, just so they can revisit. So we may have a few questions being sent via email afterwards.
Perfect. No problem at all. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for welcoming me today. It's very much appreciated. So as you probably would have been told, I'm Sophie from LifeQI, and today I'm going to be giving you a really brief kind of refresher and overview of LifeQI. The main things we're going to be covering are basic navigation. So we're going to have a look at how to actually access your project, okay, and how we can get to there from your start page. We're then going to have a look at navigation of the project itself, just to refamiliarize ourselves with that, looking at entering data and then creating and running our PDSAs in LifeQI. I love questions. Interrupt me at any point. If you've got any questions, pop them in the chat. At the end, I will also have time for question and answers, but please do pop them in as we go along. If there's anything that you particularly wanted to know today that I don't cover, please speak up and I'll be more than happy to cover it for you. But hopefully by the end of the session, we'll have a bit of a better refresher on LifeQI. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen. So also, can you see that all right before I carry on? Yeah, perfect. Great. So for those of you that don't know at all, what is LifeQI? So we are an online quality improvement software where we aim to bring the people, the tools, and the data together to help accelerate and make improvement happen. Now, the way that you are all using LifeQI is through the Embrace program. And what you will all have is a project area where you are collecting your data for measures that have been flown down as part of this collaborative. You also have an area to run your PDSA. So that's really what we're going to concentrate on today. Now, when you first come into LifeQI, you will be greeted by your start page, which we can see in front of us. And this is very much unique to you. This is where you are able to access the work that you yourself are actively participating in. Now, mine is very busy, and that's because I am involved in absolutely everything. So yours might look slightly different, but it is structured the same. So just quickly, what is on our navigation or on our start page is we have up here along the top, we have this little icon button. Now from here, we can go to our profile if you want to add a profile picture or add in your kind of about you details for other people within the kind of collaborative program to see. We also can change our password from here, as well as our preferences. Now, not many people know this, but if you click on here, you can actually change it to US English if you are in UK English. So that would help with kind of the spelling and stuff like that. So if you did want to change it, please feel free to do so through your preferences. Scrolling down the page, a couple of things to note. Notification bell in the top right-hand corner is where you'll receive all notifications, i.e. people have invited you to participate in a discussion or a project. You'll also see those here. So for those of you that are really new to LifeQI and haven't actually logged in yet, when you do log in, you will see that you have a request here for you to join your project, which you will need to accept. Here is where you'll find your project team, and you can see my team at the top. Now you'll just have the one, and that's how we're going to access the project, but I'll show you that in a second. You'll also have the ability to access this project here as well, and you'll see it there. Other things just are kind of the overarching program will be down here, any reports that you've run, etc., etc. But the main areas we really need to think about on our start page are this projects area or this project teams, and both of those are how we will access our project. On the left-hand side is just our basic navigation bar, and the only area you really need to worry about will be your projects area, and that is another way for you to access your work. Okay, so I can't see any questions coming at the moment, but like I said, do let me know if things aren't making sense or you want to check anything. So how are we actually going to access our individual project space? So I'm going to show you through the project teams here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my team that's shown for me on my start page. Now, when you click on that, you're going to see your welcome message. We can see our welcome message from Shannon here. We can see our project over here. We can also see who else is on our team down here. If you did want to navigate to the overarching program, you can do so through this blue bar at the top. But really what we're going to concentrate on is this area, which is our project. So I'm going to click on that, and that's going to take me into my project space. Now, depending which team you're on, you're going to be working on different phases. For this example, we are looking at a phase 4. So the structure of the project is exactly the same no matter what phase you're working on. It might just be that the details of the project, i.e. your measures, may look slightly different. But everything we're looking at, you will do in exactly the same way no matter which phase you're working on. So first things first, let's have a quick navigation around our project itself. So at the top, we have our title. Along here, we have the tabs for the different areas of our project. So we can access our driver diagram here, our measures and charts here, our PDSAs here, and any discussions here. Moving down, we have what we call our glance bar. Now, this is giving me a top-level overview of what is happening within my project. We have our project progress score. For those of you that don't know, this is based on the IHI progress score scale. And this is a scale from 0.5 to 5.0, and it basically dictates what shows where you are within the life cycle of your project. For example, are we testing changes with no improvement? Are we testing changes and seeing slight improvement? Or are we testing changes and seeing outstanding sustainable results? Now, you can absolutely update this, and I do encourage you to do so as you progress your project. I encourage you to update your score by clicking on this change score button here. You can see the definitions for all the scores and change it by clicking change score at the bottom. Okay. Now, through our glance bar, we can also see how many people are on my project team, the fact that I've got a driver diagram already flown down for me, and that I have 25 measures that I'm working on as part of my project underneath this program of work, and also an area to run my PDSAs. Over here, we have your members panel, so you can just see who your members are. We have a documents area, so you'll find some really useful documents in here within this program documents folder. You can also upload any other relevant information through this plus file button here. And down the bottom, we have what I call the megaphone icon. And this is a way for you to communicate with your team members around anything to do with the project. This is particularly helpful if you're kind of working different shifts or you're based in separate locations. You can use this functionality to communicate with each other within the project on LifeQI. Now, just scrolling down to one last bit of the kind of project, we have our details section at the bottom. This is where we'll find our title and our aim that has been set out for us. Now, if you wanted to add in your problem statement or your rationale, you absolutely can do this by clicking this edit button and amending any of the details within these boxes here, just ensuring that we click save once we've made any changes. So that's the basic kind of navigation of the project. Now I'm going to move on, but before I do that, I'm just going to take a really quick pause to see if anyone's got any questions. I haven't seen anything come into the chat, but has anyone got any questions so far for me at all? Okay, perfect. So hopefully that means I'm making sense so far, which is great. So the next thing that I'm going to show you is the driver diagram tab. So if I click onto my driver diagram tab, we can see the driver diagram that has been laid out for us within our project, okay? Now it's quite a large driver diagram, so you can click expand, but you're still going to need to scroll the page because there's quite a lot of information. But we can see our primary drivers, secondary drivers, and any kind of recommended change ideas here as well, okay? Now, probably the most important part, one of the most important parts, is the measures and charts section. And this is where you are going to be adding in the data for the measures within this project. So by clicking on this measures and charts tab here, we can scroll down and we can see that different process measures have been laid out for us, as well as some balance measures. And as I mentioned, the measures that you see may differ based on which phase you're working on, but you can see all of them laid out for me here. Straight away, we can see the name and we can see the data collection frequency. But let's have a look at one of these measures in a bit more detail. So when you click into a measure, it opens up your measure page, okay? We can now see that we're in this measure, our percentage of patients with documented provider contact within 3 weeks postpartum. We can see that it has two tabs, our charts tab, which is where we're going to enter our data by creating a chart. But one thing I really recommend doing first is actually coming to this plan tab here. Now, on this plan tab, this is going to give you all the information you need to know about your measure. It's going to give us our operational definition. So in this instance, it's our numerator, which is our count, and our denominator, which is our total. So what is it we're measuring and what data we need to be getting, as well as our data collection plan. So how often are we capturing this data and how often do we need to be entering it into LifeQI? And we can see here that it's monthly. We can also see what chart type it is. So in this instance, we're using a P chart. If you aren't sure on the chart type that's being used, or you just need a little bit of a refresher reminder about it, if you click on that tooltip like I did, you can actually come to our blog, which tells you all about the different chart types that we have in LifeQI, and will give you an explanation for the chart type that you're using for that particular measure. So that's just worth noting. We can also see the measure type here as well. Okay, now it is worth pointing out that the plan is not editable because this has been flown down for you, so you're all working towards the same thing across every one of your projects. Okay. Now, to add data, the first thing we need to do is we need to click Add a Chart. We can now configure our chart. If we want, we can give it a name, but we don't have to because it will automatically be named the same as our measure. So I tend to not really give my charts a name, but if you want to, feel free, but just note that it will automatically be named the name of your measure as well. And we have two ways to add in data. The first is manually. Now, the way we do that is by clicking Add a Row here. We can see because it's a P chart, it's expecting our date, our count, which is our numerator, and our total, which is our denominator. So the first thing we want to do is choose the correct date for our data. So if it's from last year, we can click that back arrow. I choose the month. I'm then going to add in my count, which is my numerator, and my total, which is my denominator. To add the next row of data, I just click Add a Row. I can then add in my next data points, as you can see. So it will always automatically add in the next date for you because this is the monthly data collection frequency. If it was weekly, it would add the date of the next week. If you don't have data for that month, so say, for example, your denominator is a 0, don't enter the data, okay? Just skip that month and add it in for the next month. So by clicking on this little calendar here, I can say, right, I had no data in March. I'm going to move it on to April, and I'll then add in my next data point. That point is particularly important when we're thinking about P charts. We are unable to make a percentage out of a 0 denominator, a zero total. So it will mess with the configuration of your chart, as well as the aggregate, the overarching collaborative level. So we just need to make sure that if we have no data for that month, we skip on to the next one. I'll add a couple more points and then you can see what the chart looks like. So now I've added my data, I'm simply going to click Create Chart. LifeQI is now going to draw my P chart for me, as we can see here. If I click on that and open it up, we can now see that I have my P chart here. I have my percentages up the side and my time period along the bottom. By clicking on any individual data point, we can see my count, my total, and the value. So this is at 48%. We can have the specific details of our center line, upper control limit, and lower control limit if you want to. But as you'll see, we can now visualize our data over time. Scrolling down, we can also then see our data table. Any questions on that before I show you another example at all? Okay, perfect. I'm just going to quickly stop sharing and get my Excel spreadsheet up. I'm sorry. Okay. So another way that we can add data into LifeQI is through copying and pasting. So if you have been collecting data in an Excel previous to adding it into LifeQI, we do have the ability to copy and paste data into our chart from an Excel document. Now, I'm going to show you how to do that, but before I do that, I'm just going to note that for LifeQI, we do expect kind of the UK date format, okay? So if you're copying in monthly data, you will need to make sure that it is day, then month, then year. Now, it's really easy in Excel to change it to the UK format. but some people have tripped up on that in the past. So just make sure that if you do want to copy and paste over, you highlight your date column and you switch that to the UK format before copying it over, okay? But let me just give you a quick example. So let's have a look at the next process measure, another one of my percentage measures here. We can see that it's monthly again, and it's a P chart. If I want to understand exactly what's happening within this measure, click on the plan tab here, and then I've got all my information, okay? So let's come back to the chart tab, and now we're going to add a chart. Previously, when I added a row, I clicked on this and I added in my date, my count, my total, but I'm not going to this time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to my Excel here. Now I have lots of data that I've been collecting, but I want to bring over this data over here. So this format will work to copy over. I'm going to highlight that and I'm going to copy that, okay? I'm then going to come back to LifeQI. And in this empty date box here, I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit paste. We can now see that that's automatically brought over all of my previous data for me in one fell swoop. Okay, so I do recommend doing this if you've got a lot of data to bring over. I can then click create chart. We can now see my spark lines. So LifeQI has created my chart for me. And we now have all of our data on the overtime chart. Okay. You will notice that above your chart, it will highlight any special cause variation, so outliers, trends, or shifts within your data through these pink boxes here. You can click on that to give you a definition of what that means, and if you hover over it, it will show you the specific data points that special cause variation is relevant to. Okay. Just going to come back to the measures list by clicking back to measures. So now we've looked at kind of the first data input. How do we then add data in on a regular ongoing basis? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my measures and charts area again, and I'm going to open up the measure that I want to add data for. So let me just come back into this top one. We can now see my chart here with my spark line. So the first thing I want to do is click on that and open that. Once my chart's opened, I'm going to hit edit here. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to hit add a row as I did before. I'm then going to add in my next data points, however many I've got, whether it's 1 or whether it's 2. And then I'm going to click redraw chart. LifeQI is then going to automatically add those next data points for me. And all I need to do is hit save. Okay. So that's how you're going to come back in on a regular basis to add in the next data points. So now let me just click back into that. And we can now see that that's been added for me there. And they're also at the bottom here. Okay. Okay, so now I'm just going to come back to my measures list here. Now, before I move on to PDSAs, I'm just going to stop, check in, see if we've got any questions, see if I'm making sense at all, or if anyone has got anything they would like to ask me on entering your data.
Sophie, I don't see any other questions in the chat. There was just one question about the abbreviation for embrace, and Shannon answered that, so we should be good to go.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Great. So we're going to have a really quick look at how to capture your PDSA in LifeQI. So your plan, do, study, act cycles. So the first thing I did was I clicked on the PDSA tab on the top, and it's opened up my PDSA page for me. And you can see here that currently I have none, so we're going to create my first one together. Now you're going to have to excuse my lack of imagination because it's later on in the evening here and I can't think of a relevant one, so it's probably not going to make sense, but hopefully it will be helpful anyway, so do excuse the lack of imagination. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click New PDSA Ramp, and this is now going to open up a wizard, a setup wizard if you will, and it's going to guide us through the process of creating this PDSA. So the first thing we're going to do is add in our title. So as I said, we're just going to call this a demo PDSA. We then want to add in our aim. So what are we aiming to do in this PDSA? We also then have the ability to link it to a relevant change idea. Because ideally, what we want to do is we want to be able to end up seeing the holistic view of this project. So we want to know, okay, which change idea is relating to which PDSA, and then how is that PDSA affecting our data, all of which you can do in the system. So what I would do here is I would choose the relevant so let's do it to provides referrals to lactation services as indicated. So that's the change idea my PDSA is relevant to. On to the next page, who's responsible for this PDSA? Is it me or is it somebody else on my project team in LifeQI that's going to be leading on it? And when is it taking place? When are we starting this PDSA? Where, if it's a specific ward or location. You don't have to change the date and you don't have to change the location if you don't want to, but the option's there. On to the next page, what's the overview? So what are we planning to do? We then have the ability to create a task list. Now, I find the tasks particularly helpful because I don't know about anyone else, but I think I have like notes, I have Trello, I have a list, and I also just have my brain thinking about everything I need to do. So I find it really, really helpful to create tasks within my project because then I know exactly what I need to do in order to move this project forward. So we have the ability to add tasks upon creation, but also once the PDSA has been created, we can tick them off and also assign them to people. So let's just put in task 1 here. Okay, what we need to do within that task would help if I could type as well. It's assigned to me and when's it due? So when do I want this to be completed by? And as I mentioned earlier, you will notice that all of the dates in LifeQI are the British format, so day, month, year. We're going to save that. We can add as many tasks as we want, and as I said, you can carry on with them afterwards. On to the next area, what is our prediction? So what do we think will happen? We can link our measures, as I mentioned, start to get that really kind of overarching view of how everything's interlinked, and then we simply click Create a PDSA cycle. Once that's saved, it's now going to take us into our PDSA here. We have the title at the top. We have 2 tabs again. The first one is our PDSA. Now, everything we added as part of that setup process was our plan section, okay? And we can see it all here. We can see which measure, which if we clicked on that, it would take us directly to the measure that it's linked to. We also then have your do study act element. So this is where we would add in what happened, how did it compare to our prediction, and what are we going to do next? In order to change any of the information at the top or add in your do study act detail, click on edit and you can now see that I can change all of these details. I can also add in what happened, how did it compare, and what is next. Okay. Just scrolling back up to the top, on the tasks tab here, we can now see my task. I can mark that as due, I can create as done, and I can add new tasks and assign them to people. So it's just worth thinking about this area as well, okay? The last thing to mention on PDSAs is that we have the ability to ramp them. Now, what I mean by that is, let me think of an example. So if we're looking at pressure sores as an example, and I want to reduce the number of pressure sores, and one of my change ideas was get the patient out of bed 3 times a day. So I've run a PDSA on getting my patient out of bed 3 times a day to help reduce my pressure sores. I've run that and I did see some improvement, but I actually think, so in my what next, I think if I adapt this and I run this PDSA again and get them out of bed 4 times a day, I'm going to see even more improvement. What we can do is we can ramp the PDSAs by creating another cycle. So essentially that's creating a cycle for how we're going to adapt the PDSA to run it again, okay? So the first one is your first cycle, and then you can create as many cycles within one ramp as you need to or as you want to. Great. So just coming back to the PDSA list, you can now see I have one PDSA and which change idea it's linked to, and I can click into that there and see those details if I want to. So just jumping back to my general page, a couple of other things I would like to point out to you before kind of I stop and open it up to question and answer. I'm often acutely aware in trainings that I'm throwing a lot of information at you, and I stop and ask for questions. And I know that right now you may not have questions because you're not necessarily in there, you're not using it right now, so you might not have any questions. But you're not alone using LifeQI, okay? So when you do come in and you start using it, if you think, oh, I can't remember what Sophie said, or oh, I can't quite remember how to do that, or whatever it might be, we are absolutely here to support you, okay? We have lots of different things that are available to you to help you with your use of LifeQI. The first one is this blue speech bubble down the bottom. Now from here, you can search our help articles. So we have a plethora of help articles on our help center that I'll show you in a moment. Or you can start a live chat, okay? And this will take you through to our dedicated help desk team who are on hand to answer any questions that you might have, whether it may be technical or whether it may just need a little bit of advice about how to do something in the system. We also have located throughout the platform at the top this Get Help With button. Now, if I click on this Get Help With, so this is Get Help With Projects because I'm on my general page, but if I was in my measures and charts, it would say Get Help With Measures. If I click on that, it's going to take me through to LifeQI's Help Center. And this will be the relevant area of the Help Center. From here, you can look at all of the articles that we have. You can search for answers up here, so it might be adding data. And then we have help articles that have got step-by-step instructions, and a lot of them have full tutorial videos as well. So it's just worth noting that this is available to you if you get stuck and would like any help. But I've been talking at you nonstop for about half an hour now, so I will stop there and see if anyone's got any questions, if anyone wanted me to go over something that I didn't go over, but yeah, I'll open up the floor. Brittany or Shannon, anything that you would like me to go over that I didn't touch on today at all, or has that covered everything you were hoping for?
I think
No,
that was good. I think from kind of a pulse check of the audience, where are you all at with comfort of starting to put in data? And you can either come off mute or type it in the chat. Was today helpful for everybody? I mean, do we still have questions? Because this is kind of where we're going to start moving to actually putting in data sooner than later.
Shannon, this is Liz. I joined a little late, so I don't know if you went over this already, but we are going to update LifeQI so that it has the topics instead of the phases for the data entry.
Yes, and I actually was talking to Brittany. Sophia, we need to work with you on the back end because we moved, I think I had mentioned it, but we've finalized it. We moved to topics instead of phases.
Yeah.
So we can, we'll just have to change things around and I can work with you on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yes, Liz, that's the short answer. Is we'll move to topics for data entry.
Okay, short answers are good. Thank you. This was very helpful, the demonstration.
and also, Sophie, I had one question as well. So we have someone that is signed into LifeQI and I can see them as a member, but they said the project is not appearing in the account at all.
Okay. So the first thing to check would be that the invitation has been accepted to the project.
Okay.
So when you log in, If you check your notification bell in the top right-hand corner or that area on the start page I mentioned earlier, there should be an invitation for you to join the program and the project. If it's not there, then we might need to look at the actual program level and ensure they're linked to the right team. Okay, but that would, the first step, just check that you've accepted the notification. And if not, we can make sure that you're linked up correctly.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Now let me. And I believe I saw one more. What is the time change and expectation for response in the help chat?
So in regards to when it's physically manned, you've probably guessed that I'm from the UK. So we are slightly ahead of you. I'm not sure what time it is there at the moment, but it's about 10 to 6 in the evening here. So we are physically manning the live chat until 10:30 p.m. our time. So what time is it with you at the moment?
It's 12:47 p.m.
So till about 4:30 p.m. your time, it will be physically manned by somebody.
Okay.
If you do come in after that, that's absolutely fine. We will get back to you as soon as we're back in the next day via email, and then we'll be able to communicate that way. Okay. And we aim to any emails, we aim to get back to you within 24 hours. Live chat is straight away, unless you obviously come in after hours. Perfect.
And I don't see any further questions in the chat. If anybody else, of course, wanted to chime in and ask anything of Sophie as well, or also just let us know via email if you have any questions that we can, reply to her. Sophie, I'm going to try to get on your books ASAP so we can work on the switch with the topic and phase. So I'll take a look at your diary and get that scheduled fairly soon as well. And then we'll communicate to everyone else in the group once it's been changed, just so it may be a little bit easier to look at and navigate from here.
And as I mentioned to everyone, we are absolutely here to help you. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or you need any further guidance. Okay.
Okay, everyone. Shannon, thank you, Sophie, so much
No
for
problem.
coming in and giving us this play-by-play. I know it's been helpful for me too, because even though we've spoken several times, it's definitely been helpful just to come in and get more information about just the navigation of it all. Thank you. Really appreciate you coming in for that. And Shannon, was there anything else that you needed to add? Wanted to let everybody know?
No, I just really we wanted to use today. First of all, thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, Sophie, for being here. We really wanted to use today as a catalyst to ensure that A, everybody had access to LifeQI, and B, really felt comfortable with navigating within LifeQI to put data in. So I know you guys aren't looking forward to this, but we're going to start pushing to have data put in, even if it's as simple as one. But this is what we've got to ensure to do with our funders, is we've got to start having some data inputted, recognizing that this is still a learning process for all of us and we're still just getting into the mix of it. But I think that once we get 1 or 2 data entries under our belt, it will be a lot more kind of seamless. But also I want to see kind of what questions you all have as you start to try to enter the data. Do you have access to the data? What can we do to support? Are you able to navigate LifeQI? Is this, really a good system to utilize? What can we do better? So just starting to utilize some of this stuff to really keep things moving. So yeah, I don't really have anything else. I just want to make sure that everybody feels supported and all their questions are answered. And I think Sophie mentioned it. They're available, we're available, Brittany's available. So any way we can do to help and support you all.
And I know I placed the link for that survey at the beginning. If you are still in need of like a one-on-one call, I did see those who had already responded to that survey. If they needed a one-on-one, absolutely, I would get in touch with you later on this afternoon or tomorrow to set that up so we can get back in and kind of speak with everything. Again, I'll be meeting with Sophie as soon as possible so we can get that phase and topic changed over. And then I'll let you guys know as well when that has been changed. From there, if there are any questions, please let me know. Other than that, I'll be sending out the meeting minutes tomorrow as well. And thank you guys for attending and listening in. And I'm going to give you guys about 9 minutes every time back.
Lovely to see you all.
See, Sophie,
Bye.
I'm gonna be going. I'm going right now and try to schedule. I think I still have that email you sent me.
Perfect. Yeah, just pop it in and yeah, I'll speak to you soon. All right.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
No worries. Bye, everyone.
See ya. Okay.
Before I leave, so when I leave, and you'll close out, a thing will pop up on your screen that basically says like cleaning, whatever. It's doing that recording. So
Okay.
just let it run in the background.
Okay.
And then it'll pop up and let you know when it's ready. And then what you can do is go in and access it under Zoom, under your account. And you
Okay.
should be